AITA for considering leaving my partner because it feels like cheating. Intriguing beginning. I realized something was wrong the night I caught myself rehearsing a lie. For no reason. I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror, toothbrush still in my mouth, practicing how I'd tell my partner, Ethan, that I was just tired after work. The moment the lie spilled out in a whisper, I froze. Why was I lying? Why was I hiding anything? Continuation. The next week unfolded like a slow-motion disaster, quiet, subtle, almost invisible from the outside, yet loud enough inside my chest to feel like a constant earthquake. It started with small things, like how I noticed I was checking my phone more often at work, not for emails, not for notifications, just for her name. And every time I saw a message from Leela, even something simple like, "Did you see Mark's awful presentation?" I felt that warm, electric flicker in my stomach, something I should have only felt for Ethan. But I kept rationalizing. It's nothing. She's funny. She's just a friend. I'm allowed to enjoy conversations. Except enjoyment was turning into expectation. Expectation was turning into craving. And craving is dangerous. One afternoon, the team stayed late to finish a project. The office was dim, that after-hours kind of quiet where even the hum of the AC feels intimate. I walked past the kitchen and found Leela leaning against the counter, scrolling on her phone, illuminated by the soft blue glow. She looked up when she heard me. "There you are," she said with a smile that felt like sunlight. "Thought you vanished." My pulse jumped. I tried to ignore it. "We still have to finalize the numbers," I said, keeping my tone neutral. She laughed softly. "Business first, huh?" Then she tilted her head. "You're always so serious. You should decompress with me sometime." My breath caught because there was something in her voice, something not professional. I felt the heat rise through me, fear, excitement, guilt, all tangled. I have Ethan," I blurted too quickly. She didn't flinch, didn't apologize. Instead, she gave me a knowing half-smile. "I didn't mean a date." Then, after a pause, "Unless you wanted to be." My chest tightened painfully. I stepped back, forcing air into my lungs. I should get back to work. As I walked away, she called after me, voice soft, teasing, "You know where to find me." Her words echoed in my skull the rest of the night. Ending everything finally snapped the day Leela asked me to meet her somewhere quiet. It was after work in the parking lot, the sky already bruised purple with the early evening. She leaned against her car, arms crossed, looking at me like she already knew the answer to a question I hadn't yet heard. "You've been distant," she said softly. "Did I do something wrong?" I swallowed hard. "No. You didn't." "I did." She raised a brow. "You confuse me. One moment it feels like you want this something between us, and the next, you act like I'm a stranger." "Because it's wrong," I whispered. "Because it scares me. Because I have Ethan." Her expression shifted, not surprised, but disappointed. "You deserve someone who makes your heart race," she said quietly. "And maybe that's not him." The words hit me like a punch, but not because she was wrong. Because she wasn't. My heart had been racing. But not in a healthy way, not in a safe way, in a way that made me feel like I was teetering on the edge of a cliff. Leela stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the citrus in her perfume. "I'm not asking for anything," she whispered. "Just honesty, with yourself." Her hand brushed mine barely a touch, and suddenly something inside me snapped, like a wire pulled too tight. I stepped back. "I can't do this," I said. "I'm hurting Ethan, and I'm hurting myself." For the first time since I met her, Leela looked unsure. "Then what do you want?" I forced myself to breathe. "I want to stop feeling like I'm cheating on someone I still love." She held my gaze for a long, heavy moment, then nodded, slowly, almost sadly. "Then go fix it." And she got into her car and drove away, leaving me alone with the truth. When I got home that night, Ethan was sitting on the couch, scrolling through Netflix without watching anything. As soon as I stepped inside, he looked up, concern painting his face. "You're late," he said gently. "I know." I took a deep breath. "Ethan, we need to talk." His shoulders tensed. Is this the conversation where you break up with me?" Hearing him say it broke something inside me. "No," I said. "This is the conversation where I finally tell you the truth." I sat beside him, hands shaking, and told him everything. Not every detail, just the truth that mattered. How I had grown too close to someone else, how I had let the emotional line blur, how guilty and confused I had been, how I had felt like I was betraying him even without ever acting on anything. Ethan didn't interrupt once. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. When I finished, his eyes were wet. "You didn't cheat," he said quietly, "but you were heading somewhere dangerous." "I know." I whispered. And that's why I'm telling you. I want us. I still want us. But not like this. Not with secrets. He ran a hand through his hair. Do you want to stay with me because you love me or because you're afraid of losing me? The question sliced me open. I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized something. I didn't want the intensity Leela offered. I didn't want the adrenaline of forbidden tension. I wanted the warmth, the safety, the partnership Ethan gave me. I love you, I said, my voice trembling, and feeling something confusing for someone else made me realize how much. Tears finally slipped down his cheeks, and he let out a shaky exhale. I don't want to lose you, he whispered. You won't, I said, taking his hands. But I think we need to rebuild trust. Slowly, honestly. Together, he nodded, squeezing my fingers. Then let's start over, he said. No secrets, I echoed. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept beside Ethan without guilt burning through me. In the morning, I blocked Lila's number, not out of anger, not out of fear, but out of commitment. Because love isn't just a feeling. Sometimes, love is a choice. And this time, I finally chose the right one. When I got home, Ethan greeted me exactly the same way he always did, with warmth, with patience, with that gentle steadiness that had made me fall for him in the first place. He wrapped his arms around me. You smell like coffee and stress. I tried to laugh, but the sound came out hollow. He pulled back, frowning slightly. You okay? I lied again. Just tired. He brushed his thumb under my. If anything's wrong, tell me, please. His kindness made my stomach twist with guilt so strong it was almost nauseating. Because while Ethan was making dinner, I found myself thinking about how Leela laughed. How Lila's eyes lingered on me. How Leela made me feel alive in a way that scared me. And that terrified me. Not because of her, but because a part of me wanted more. The emotional cheating line blurred further the next day, when Leela asked me if I wanted to have lunch outside the office. Not the usual cafeteria lunch. I mean outside a restaurant, just the two of us. I should have said no. I told myself I would say no. But my mouth betrayed me, sure. She grinned, triumphant, and somehow the guilt made me feel even more pulled toward her, like forbidden gravity. At lunch, everything felt too easy. She made me laugh until my ribs hurt. She listened like every word I spoke mattered. She leaned in close enough that her perfume wrapped around me like a warm fog. And when she touched my hand lightly to make a point about something, my heart practically short-circuited. I pulled away instantly, my cheeks burning. We shouldn't. Relax, she whispered. You're allowed to be cared about by more than one person. The way she said cared about sounded like a promise, or a warning. I spent the rest of the day avoiding her, but the damage was already done. The thought had been planted. If I felt this strongly about someone else, wasn't my relationship already broken? By the weekend I was a mess. Ethan noticed everything. How come you never look at me during dinner anymore? Why do you keep flinching when I touch you? Why do you smile at your phone like that? And the worst question of all, are you still happy with me? I opened my mouth to answer yes, of course, I love you, but the words tangled in my throat. I stood there in silence, unable to lie again, unable to tell the truth either. Because the truth wasn't love or lack of love. The truth was confusion. The truth was fear. The truth was that I felt like I was cheating without ever touching anyone else. And I didn't know how to stop it. It all came crashing down the night I dreamed about Leela. Not anything physical. Just us talking, laughing, her brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. I woke up gasping, drenched in guilt. And Ethan, half asleep beside me, reached out and murmured, "Bad dream." I wanted to scream. I wanted to confess everything. I wanted to run. Instead, I whispered, "Yeah, but it wasn't a nightmare. It was the fantasy that terrified me." That morning, I sat on the edge of the bed and whispered into my trembling hands, "If I'm emotionally cheating, am I the asshole for wanting to leave before I do something worse? I wasn't doing anything wrong, right?" But that night, when my phone buzzed and I saw her name, Leela, I hesitated before turning the screen face down. Ethan didn't notice. He was in the kitchen, humming while pouring tea for us like he did every night. Soft, warm, stable. The complete opposite of the storm happening inside me. Leela was just a co-worker. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. We had never touched, never flirted, never crossed a physical line, but the emotional line. The one people don't talk about. I felt myself slipping. Her jokes made me laugh harder than I expected. Her attention felt intoxicating. Her voice had become the soundtrack of my workdays. And yet, I loved Ethan. I did. So why did everything suddenly feel like I was cheating without ever technically cheating? That night, as I tucked my phone under my pillow, something